Hi guys, so here is our discussion for business combination, part 1, which is recognition and measurement. Okay, so medyo mahaba itong discussion na ito. Hindi naman ganun kahaba. Kasi we will be discussing the mismo mga topics relating to the business combination itself bukod dun sa accounting part niya. Ano? So, let's start. So we have business combination. Ano ba ang business combination? It is where one company acquires another company or when two or more companies merge into one. So mamaya malalaman natin kung anong tawag doon. Then after the combination, one company gains control over the other. So control is present in a business combination. So yun yung isa sa mga criteria na tinitingnan if there was really a business combination. Ano? The company that obtains control over the other is referred to as the parent or the acquirer, okay? And then the one that is controlled is the subsidiary or the acquiree. This is governed by PFRS 3. Ano? Okay. So, we have friendly and unfriendly takeovers. Paano ba nga baga na-acquire yung mga companies? Ano ba nangyayari in the business setup? Okay, ito yung nakikita nyo sa mga K-drama. Ano na bilihan ng kumpanya. Ano, Itaewon class, yung mga ganon. Okay, so friendly takeovers, you have the BOD of the potential combining company negotiates mutually agreeable terms. So, ibig sabihin, gusto nila na mag-merge talaga or ma-acquire yung, hindi naman isa't isa, ma-acquire nung prospective acquirer yung acquiree, tapos nini-negotiate nila in agreeable terms, beneficial for both of them. Okay, normally 2/3 or 3/4 positive vote is required by corporate bylaws to bind all stockholders to the combination. So, there will be a voting na mangyayari. Okay, and then if nag-agree na lahat sa terms, friendly takeovers. Ano, walang stress, although nakaka-stress gawin yung business combination because of all the work done. Pero at least, this one is friendly. Ibig sabihin, gusto nila. Or if hindi gusto ng ilan, at least majority would like to do so. Ano? Unfriendly or the hostile combination results when the BOD of a company targeted for acquisition, excuse me, resist the combination. Dito, parang ayaw nila magpa-acquire. Pero due to certain factors, yung mga shareholders is naiengganyo na, o sige, pagbenta na lang natin sa iba. Or papasukin natin sila sa company natin that will make them the majority stockholders. So, syempre, yung mga may-ari, yung mga original or yung mga incorporators na nandoon, baka ayaw nila. Okay, so the acquisition resists the combination. So, kaya hostile eh. Yung may mga samaan ng loob, charot. Formal tender offer enables the acquiring firm to deal directly with the individual stockholders. Ano yung tender offer? Okay. Ang tender offer, alam kong narinig nyo na to sa law ninyo, sa corporation. Tender offer is a public offer made by a person, a business, or a group who wants to acquire a given amount of a particular security. So, ito, parang ino-offer niya ng magandang package, magandang fair selling price, kumbaga, dun sa existing stockholder ng kumpanyang bibilhin mo, pupuntahan mo sa bahay, o-offeran mo na, I would like to buy your stocks at an amount that is higher than the market value of it. So, yun yung mga cases. Alam ko nakikita nyo sa mga K-drama na parang best example was I'm Not a Robot, if napanood nyo siya. Kaya yung nagbahay-bahay, yung, I can't remember the story, pero I remember the part na pumunta sila sa mga bahay ng mga stockholders, tapos ino-offeran sila ng ito, tender offer, okay, para ipagbenta nila yung securities nila doon sa, syempre doon sa bumibili. So, conditional offer to buy. So, in effect, ang tender offer is a conditional offer to buy. So, yun nga. Kung papayag ka, edi bibilhin ko. Kung hindi, edi by hook or by crook, magiging may-ari ako na sa'yo. Parang gano'n. Yun yung mga malimit drama sa mga hostile takeovers. So, anong ginagawa nung acquiree, yung target company, para maiwasan yung mga hostile takeovers. Or if nandyan na yung acquirer na ayaw nila, anong maaari nilang gawin? So we have 9. Okay, madami pang ibang ways, pero our book told us, given us 9. So let's discuss. So first is the poison pill. So the poison pill is actually amendment of the articles of incorporation or bylaws to make it more difficult to obtain stockholder approval for a takeover. So maaring may chismis na may bibili sa atin. So bilang kumpanyang chinichismis na mabibilhin na mabebenta in the future, baguhin natin ang ating bylaws. Taasan natin yung number of votes na kailangan para ma-approve ang takeover, yung mga ganon, okay? So, potential targets use this tactic in order to make them look less attractive to the potential acquirer. So, maraming pwedeng baguhin sa bylaws at sa articles of incorporation para parang maging disadvantage on the part of the acquirer na kung kailan bibilhin na nila, saka pa lang sila, ay, ganon? Okay, so bakit ganon? Parang dati naman hindi. Parang piniprepare mo na yun eh. Kaya siya naging poison pill. Na pag hindi mo alam, pag ininom mo pala, lason. Okay, if you have watched Sherlock, yung episode niya na pinapili siya, which is the pill na may lason, so yun yung isa sa mga downfall. Parang sa tingin ni Sherlock ay downfall niya kasi hindi niya naalaman kung alin doon sa dalawang pill kasi nagpakamatay na yung gumawa nung riddle eh. So parang ganon. Okay, so allow existing shareholders the right to purchase additional shares at a discount, effectively diluting the ownership interest of a new hostile party. So this is also one of the amendments na pwedeng yung shareholders ay bumili ng existing shares or ng additional shares at a lower price or at a discount, na parang sa halip na maging advantage ni acquirer na yung mabili niya is nabalitaan niya at magandang value, tapos bigla na lang nag-amend ang articles of incorporation and bylaws. Tapos yung mga existing, pwede pala silang bumili at a discount. Paano ako? New ako, hindi ako shareholder. So, anong gagawin ko? Di parang, din nga, poison pill is analogous to something that's difficult to swallow or accept. So, sa halip na si acquirer ay magpatuloy, wag na lang. Parang lugi ako eh. So, poison pill. Okay? Ma'am, pwede bang ibalik sa dati kapag wala na yung threat? Pwede naman. Kaso ay di matrabaho ulit. We all know that amendments in the bylaws and in the articles of incorporation should be submitted to SEC. So, yan. Green mail. So, green, alam mo yung blackmail. Blackmail is when you blackmail ka. Alam mo yun. Kaya ang green mail, like the color of money, green. Dito naman, you have what you call the corporate raider. So dito sa green mail is money paid to an entity to stop or prevent aggressive behavior in mergers and acquisition. It is an anti-takeover measure in which the target company pays a premium, known as a green mail, to purchase its own shares back at inflated prices from a corporate raider. So ito, kumbaga, nabili na. Okay? Nabili na nung isang shareholder na parang pinakyaw lahat yung mga shares nila. Okay? Tapos, yung pala takeover, parang mukha na siyang takeover sa nangyari. So, in order to bring it back, okay, kasi syempre, kung ako yung stockholder, ba't ko pagbebenta sa iyo at the usual price in the market? Syempre, bigyan mo ako ng mas malaking presyo para ibigay ko sa iyo lahat uli. Para yung ako, na baka ako maging target ng acquirer, bigyan ako ng mas magandang offer. Sa kanya ako nalang ibibigay yung mga shares na binili ko sa kumpanya mo. Di siya may-ari. At least ako mayaman. So, parang ganun yung mindset ng corporate trader eh. So, si target company ang gagawin, syempre, magbabayad siya ng mas malaki compared sa market price dun sa shares na kinuha nung isang pakyawang bumiling shareholder. So, that's green mail. Kaya green mail, so pera. parang naperahan. Ganyan, pera-pera lang. Okay, after accepting the green mail payment, the raider generally agrees to continue the takeover and not buy any more shares for a specific time. So, minsan ganun nangyayari. Minsan syempre kung wala kang integridad, di loko-lokohan lang to, bibili uli ako. Parang ganun. Okay? So, we have the white knight or the white squire. So, sa aking research, magkaiba yung white knight sa white squire, pero halos same naman yung concept. Si white knight is actually the candidate na gusto nung acquiring, na siya na lang yung mag-acquire sa kanila. Kaya ayaw kasi nung present acquirer, no, ayaw nung present ni acquiree, ayaw yung present acquirer. So, maghahanap sila ng mas favorable sa kanila na acquirer. Okay, so iinganyohin nila yon na siya na lang yung bumili at a better price. And usually, pag white knight is nawawala yung independence ng kumpanyang nabili, yung acquiree. Okay, ang white squire is actually an investor or a friendly company na bibili ng majority shares para maiwasan yung takeover, and then hindi naman nawawala yung independence nung acquiree. Parang naging majority stockholder lang siya doon sa kumpanya nila, at least friend nila. So, yan. Sa halip nga naman sa mga ayaw nila. For example, ayaw magbanggit. Pacman defense, yan. So, sa Pacman defense, diba, si Pacman, when nakakain siya ng special food, special berries, special bilog, okay, pwede niyang kainin yung ghost. So, ganun yung Pacman defense. So, attempting unfriendly, that would be the acquiring company. In an attempt to scare off the would-be acquirers, so takeover target may use any method to acquire the other company. Okay, including dipping into its war chest for cash to buy majority stake. So, ganito, pag may mga haka-haka na or may lumapit na sa iyo na gusto nilang bilhin yung kumpanya mo or mag-merge pero ayaw mo naman sa kanila, takutin mo. Pacman defense. Exhaust all of your assets and securities na nasa company's war chest. Yun yung buffer of cash kept aside for uncertain adverse events. So, yung mga contingencies mo. Busin mo muna, bilhin mo, takutin mo lang. Bilhin mo yung, bumili ka ng Pacquiao na shares dun sa kumpanya na bibili sa'yo para lang matakot sila na, oh my God, kaya pala nila akong bilhin. Okay, so, it may scare them off or at least makita nila na meron ka palang capability to do that. So, yun. Pwede naman, ganito daw. The targeted company may also choose to buy back some of its own shares from the hostile company. So, yun nga. Pag nabili ng kumpanya, pwede mo naman i-buy back yung Pacman defense. Pero, mas magandang tingnan yung sa Pacman. Mas magandang example sa Pacman defense yung you have to exhaust all of your assets to try and scare the acquirer na kaya mo pala siyang bilhin. I can buy you, your friends, and the world. Selling the crown jewels or scorched earth. So, yung scorched earth, ang hirap naman. Okay, so yung selling the crown jewels. Okay, so by the name itself, pinagbebenta mo yung mga assets mo. Okay? So, before the acquirer actually took you over, bago pa man niya gawin yun, pinagbenta mo na yung mga assets mo. Yung mga advantages, intangible assets mo, pinagbenta mo na sa iba. So, when they see na wala na palang assets tong kumpanyang to, ba't pa natin bibilihin? So, scare off mo na siya. Okay, so yan. In either case, company's best operating assets are sold. So, yun na. Scorched earth. Actually, dalawang magkaibang, the same sila ng concept, pero magkaiba yung scenario. Yung scorched earth, if I'm not mistaken, is the same with selling the assets. Parang magmumukhang pangit yung kumpanya, kaya nga scorched earth. Parang walang natira. So yun. Shark repellent, this one is acquisition of substantial amounts of ordinary common stock for the treasury or for retirement or the incurring of substantial long-term debt in exchange of outstanding. So, ganito ang ginagawa. Parang bibili mo pabalik yung iyong mga outstanding shares, gagawin mo siyang treasury or i-retire mo. So, ibig sabihin, kakaunti na lang yung outstanding shares na pwedeng bilhin, or di kaya naman kukuha ka ng long-term debt para lang kukuha ka ng long-term debt para yung pera makukuha mo from that debt dun sa utang na yun is gagamitin mo para ma-buy back mo yung mga outstanding shares mo para maging treasury at para ma-retire mo. So, ganon. So, wala ka nang umunti yung outstanding shares mo plus nagkaroon ka pa ng utang. Parang, huwag mo ko lapitan, pangit ako, parang gano'n. So, gano'n. Nag-iingat ka sa mga sharks. So, yun. Pwede daw siyang tawaging porcupine provision also. Ano yung porcupine? Yung porcupine yung may tusok-tusok pag, yung mga gano'n. Okay? So, mga pangalan mo gano'n. Leverage buyouts. This one is when management desires to own the businesses, it may arrange to buy out the stockholders using the company's assets to finance the deal. The bonds issued are high interest, high risk junk funds. So dito, parang mas nag-i-incur ka ng debt. Tingnan nyo. LBO is usually characterized by a ratio of 90% debt and 10% equity. Di sana yung creditors na lang ginawa mong shareholders ng kumpanya, di ba? 90% utang yung iyong kumpanya, 10% equity. So, that's leverage buyout. Parang yung creditor na din mismo, yung may-ari ng kumpanya. So, hindi siya magandang tingnan kasi syempre 90%, 10% lang ang equity. Paano kung nag-mature yung debt, wala ka palang pambayad? Okay, so, yun yung kaya sinasabi, ang gamit na bonds doon ay high risk, high interest junk bonds. So, predatory tactic siya. Ano pa ba? It is also seen as ironic in that the company's success in terms of assets of the balance sheet can be used against it as a collateral by a hostile company. Okay. Mudslinging defense. So, para siyang blackmail. The mudslinging defense, as the picture tells, parang tinatapunan mo ng putik yung kumpanya. So, for example, hindi ka kasi mabili ng acquirer, ang gagawin niya is, yung mga prospective buyers and prospective shareholders, mga investors, sisiraan ka. So, for example, wag ka mag-invest dyan sa stocks na yan. Kasi, baka mamaya mag-red stock market, saka parang corporate culture naman niya is hindi siya ganoon ka. So, yun yung mga chika, mudslinging defense. So, yun. Next, defensive acquisition tactic. There are many ways to do defensive acquisition tactics, one of which is yung acquiree will buy smaller businesses na inline sa kanya para at least lumaki siya, mahirapan siyang bilhin ng acquirer. So, that's one of the defensive acquisition tactics. So, yun. Okay. So, we now go to reasons for business combination. Okay. One of the reasons why businesses combine, first is cost advantage. Siyempre, mas lumiliit. Mamaya makikita natin sa advantages. Yung cost na dapat na i-incur mo na solo ka lang. Pag nag-merge kayo, maaaring umunti siya. Unang reason is baka yung supplier mo, binili mo siya. So, sa halip na may patong yung supplier sa iyo lagi, dahil binili mo na yung supplier mo, nasa iyo na siya, lumiit yung cost mo. So, that's one of the reasons. Mamaya, bibigay pa akong example. Lower risk. Again, pag kasi nagko-combine ka ng mga maliliit na negosyo or even larger companies is that dumalaki yung kumpanya. There is lower risk for takeovers kasi pag malaki na yung kumpanya mo, syempre, mas malaking amount of shares or the value of the shares ang kailangan ilabas ng would-be acquirer para sa takeover. So, lower yung risk niya. Okay? So, yun. That's one of the reasons why. Okay? Avoidance of sinabi ko na pala. Avoidance of takeovers. So, yung lower risk, I'll give another example. Lower risk is that, for example, meron kang, like for example, the conglomerates. Meron kang banking business, meron kang supermarket business. Maaaring during the pandemic, nagsara yung department store mo, nagsara yung stores mo ng cosmetics, nagsara yung stores mo ng okay. Then, ang natira na lang sa iyo is, for example, yung supermarket mo, yung banking mo, na essential goods ngayong pandemic. At least, nag-lower yung risk mo na totally kang nalugmok sa utang or nawala yung negosyo mo. Because you are a conglomerate, you have acquired businesses that is diverse, lower yung risk. So, acquisition of intangible assets. So, syempre, yung mga negosyong binibili mo, meron siyang intangible assets on its own. For example, nung binili niya si Mang Inasal, okay, Jollibee has acquired the intangible assets that Mang Inasal has. So, hindi na niya kailangan mag-establish na Mang Inasal, Only Rice in itself, meron na siyang sariling pangalan. So, ganon. Okay? And other reasons. Ano yung other reasons? Advantages of business combinations. So, we have competition is eliminated or lessened. So, ito yung ginagawa ng iba. Para walang competition, binibili. If you see Jollibee sa fast food chain industry, wala siyang kalaban sa local. Okay? So, if you think yung mga local, yung mga maliliit na negosyo is karibal ni Jollibee Foods Corporation when it comes to fast food, no. Actually, it's just Jollibee, okay? It's just Jollibee and the international fast foods, Wendy's, McDo, yan. Yun na lang, okay? So, eliminated yung competition niya, okay? So, ganun. Synergy. Mawala yung synergy, nag-i-increase po yung productivity. Parang 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So, ganun. So, ganun yung synergy. Yung productivity level mo, sa halip na solo mo lang lahat, nung in-acquire mo yung isa, nag-boost yung manpower mo, nag-boost yung assets mo, nag-boost lahat, yung efficiency and yung productivity is nag-boost. That's 1 plus 1 equals 2. Parang yan. 2 is better than 1. Okay, anyway. Increase business opportunities and earnings potential. Kasi nga, paglaki, alam niyo na yun, pag malaki yung negosyo, mas malaki yung opportunities and earning potential niya. So, yon, we have reduction of operating costs. Why? Kasi nga, baka kasi horizontal integration or vertical integration yung mangyari. So, mamaya pag-uusapan natin yan. So, we have combinations to utilize economies of scale. We all know that the economies of scale is actually improvement of production efficiency. Okay, na dahil nag-improve yung production efficiency niya, paglaki niya, lumaki yung production capacity niya, and because lumaki yung production capacity niya, mas madami yung production na mag-absorb ng mga cost. So, per unit cost, lumiliit siya. So, ganon. Cost accounting nyo, say hi to Sir Howell and Sir Jabim. So, ganon. Okay, next, cost savings on business expansion. So, sa cost savings on business expansion, sa halip na magtayo ka ng branch, which is costly, kasi papatayo ka ng building, mag-training ka ng mga empleyado, tapos ma-manage mo pa yung advertising ng separate branch mo. Because of business combinations, naiiwasan mo na yung expansion, kasi, syempre, may existing na silang mga branches, at least cost savings na yun para sa iyo. Disadvantages of business combination, syempre, there's advantage, may disadvantage. Brings monopoly in the market which may have a negative impact on the society. Kapag kasi bili ka, nagkakaroon ng notion yung mga tao na monopoly yung iyong negosyo. And alam nila na ang oligarchs nga ayaw ng tao sa mga oligarchs kasi parang, are you sharing your wealth with the people? Are you donating to the people? Parang ang isip-isip ng mga tao with the oligarchs is parang nalalamangan ganon. Ano pa kaya kung ikaw ay monopolizer, kung monopoly yung business mo. So, iisipin nila, kaya mong manipulahin ang prices in the market. Okay? Lalo na kung ikaw essential good. So, negative impact. The identity of one or both of the combining constituents may cease. Yan. Yun yung minsan nangyayari. Pag nagko-combination kayo, sa halip na ang isipin ng tao is si company A, si company B, parang naglalaho na yung image ni company A, si company B, sino ka na? So, ganon. Okay? So, iiwasan yon when doing business combinations na dapat, even though nag-merge yung dalawang companies, dapat may distinct characteristics na maiiwan from each of the companies combined. Okay? Especially in good traits nila. Okay? So, yon, management of the combined may become difficult due to, yan. syempre mag-aaway-away ang management niyan. Okay? For example, na-absorb ng isang company yung existing company. Eh, ikaw, supervisor ka na, taasan natin, senior associate ka na ng isang company, tapos na-absorb or na-take over yung company mo. Okay? So, ano ng posisyon mo sa kumpanyang bago? Siyempre, re-rehire ka, i-absorb ka. Anong posisyon? Mas mataas, mas mababa? Okay? So, yun yun. Okay? Magkakaroon ng conflicts with regards to management. Okay? Overcapitalization, which may result to diffusion in market price per share and attractiveness. So, syempre, pag masyadong capital ang meron, baka hindi mo na napapagalaw ng maayos kasi syempre, nandun ka pa sa cloud9 na yes, nag-expand ang negosyo natin. We have combined successfully. Okay? However, overcapitalization tells you na baka meron kang working capital na masyadong malaki. Paano mo ngayon papaikot sa kumpanya? Where will you invest? Okay? So, stricter regulation. So, kapag business combination, ang mata ng gobyerno nasa iyo. Okay, lalo na if you have become a monopoly in the market, syempre, stricter yung regulations para sa iyo. Okay, nakatingin sa inyo. Types of business combinations. So, it can be based on structure. So, pag-uusapan natin yan. It can be based on method used to accomplish a combination. It may be based on the accounting method used. So, first we have structure, based on the structure of a business combination. So, pwede siyang horizontal, vertical, conglomerate, and circular. I think it is discussed sa mga business subjects niyo. But I will discuss this too. So, horizontal integration. This one, kung makikita ninyo sa aking PowerPoint, yung nasa baba, horizontal. Ang binibili mo, ang nagko-combine is the commodity producers, yung linyang isang buo. Okay? Binibili mo siya. Okay? And then, for example, car manufacturers, binili mo lahat ng pinag-combine mo yung mga linya ng lahat ng car manufacturers. This is horizontal integration. Okay? So, horizontal integration is a competitive strategy that create economies of scale, increase market power over distributors and suppliers, increase product depreciation, and help business expand their market or enter new market. So, pag ganun, for example, binili ni Ford si Mazda. Okay? Pagkatapos binili ni Ford si Mazda, binili ni Ford si Chevrolet, binili ni Ford si Mitsubishi. Yung mga ganun. Tapos, after everything na binili ni Ford, binili ni Toyota si Ford. Okay? So, nag-merge sila. So, anong advantage no? Siyempre, yung mga market share ng each of the businesses that were combined, nakuha lahat yun ni Toyota. Okay? And the distributors, the suppliers, wala nang kahirap-hirap si Toyota. Nakuha na din niya kasi established na yung mga brands na yun. That's horizontal integration. Ano? Ang vertical integration naman, as you have seen the PowerPoint, yun nasa left side. Okay? It's actually, for example, you're a car manufacturer, binili mo na din yung supplier mo. Okay? Binili mo na din yung distributor mo or yung logistics. Okay? Binili mo na din yan para at least mag-lessen yung cost. Okay? And yung supply chain niya is ma-reduce. Kasi nasa iyo na lahat. Okay? Like for example, okay, so, even the production of the packaging, the raw materials for the packaging, kanila, and then, syempre, yung KURC, the sister company of JG Summit, or a subsidiary, okay, saan ba siya kumukuha for packaging nila? Syempre, kay JG Summit Petrochemicals. So, yun. At least, sister companies, lesser cost. Okay? Yun yung goal ng marami sa mga negosyo na sa halip na supplier nila is tagalabas, bilhin ko na lang si supplier. Vertical integration. Okay? Pati yung logistics. Sa halip na mag-to-go ako'y gagawa na lang ng sarili kong logistics or bibilhin ko na lang si to-go. So, ganun. Okay? Wala silang magawa sa pera nila yun. So, bili lang ng bili. Okay? There is actually some businessmen na walang ibang ginawa. Ang negosyo is actually to buy and sell negosyo. Ganun sila kayaman. Okay? They exist. Promise. They exist. Okay? Conglomerate combination. So, this one, di ba yung logo? This one, sa conglomerate, it's actually hindi related yung negosyo sa isa't isa. Okay? Like SM, bumili siya sa banking, Meron siyang negosyong supermarket, meron siyang negosyong department store, okay? Meron din siyang negosyong SMDC, which is real estate. So, yon. So, bakit? Diversification. Na, syempre, do not put your eggs in one basket. So, mas maraming, mas mahirap siyang i-manage kasi different lines. Pero, syempre, management structure na lang yung pag-uusapan doon. Pag-aaralan naman kasi yan. Then, circular combination. Actually, this is, well, less yung diversification niya compared to a conglomerate. Pero, for example, si Asus, nag-combine with, dati siyang manufacturer ng laptops. So, ngayon, let's say, for example, he has bought, okay, combined with a small business na nagmamanufacture, kilalang manufacturer ng cellphones. So, ngayon, laptop and cellphones na. So, nakita siya ng opportunity na meron siyang supplier that can handle routers. So, because gaming laptops, gaming cellphones, syempre, kailangan na mabilis na internet connection. Gawa tayo ng gaming routers. So, ganon. So, ganun. Okay. Next, methods, types, combination, and legal forms of effecting business combination. So we have 3. We have acquisition of net assets, acquisition of common stock, and then asset acquisition. Let's first talk about acquisition of common stock or stock acquisition. This one is where the books of the acquirer company and acquiring company remain intact and consolidated financial statements are prepared periodically. So, dito is the subsidiary parent relationship. Kasi yung nagkakaroon ng investment in subsidiary account si acquirer. Okay? So, anong usapan dito? Control. When ba nagkakaroon ng control? If the majority stocks owned is 51% or more. Kasi more than 50% yung sinabi sa standard, edi 51% or more. Okay, so yon. The acquired company need not be dissolved. So, yung acquired nagiging subsidiary. Anong pinagpapalit? Yun na lang. Stocks from another enterprise for cash, property, that is so stocks. Okay, asset acquisition. This one reflects acquisition by one firm. Dito, ang ina-acquire lang niya is assets of the company. The acquirer typically targets key assets for acquisition or buys the acquirer's assets but does not assume the liabilities. Okay, the acquirer may not buy the entire entity. So, majority stockholder lang siya. And this is not within the scope of PFRS 3. Okay. Yan. Ito pag-aaralan natin ngayon. We have acquisition of net assets or assets less liabilities. So, anong ginagawa dito? Books of the acquired or the acquiree are closed out and its assets and liabilities are transferred to the books of the acquirer or the acquiring or surviving company. The acquirer acquires from another enterprise all or most of the net assets, okay, for cash and other property, debt instruments, and equity. The acquirer must acquire 100% of the net assets of the acquiree or acquired company. It involves only when the acquiring company survives. May be statutory merger or statutory consolidation. So, may conditions. Pwedeng 100% acquired nung acquirer, yung acquiree, kaya nga siya nag-business combination. Then we have also what you call the statutory merger or statutory consolidation, which is the 2 types of this acquisition of net assets. Okay? So, statutory merger is where X company binili si Y company, maaaring ang mag-survive is si X company or si Y company. But because ang bumili ay si X company, malamang si X company mag-survive, i-merge sa kanya si Y company. Kaya ganun yon. X company plus Y company is equal to X company or Y company. That's merger. Ang consolidation is different. A new entity is given birth. Okay, so X company. Why? Bakit ganun? X company plus Y company is equal to Z company. Nagkakaroon ng bagong entity nung nag-merge sila. So, yan. I don't know anong yung nag-merge. I think Rockwell, dun sa may area sa Lipa. Rockwell company. May isang merger silang nangyari. Consolidation, kasi bago ng pagkatao I can't remember the name. Kunikwento kasi siya sa akin. Okay, accounting for business combinations. Oh, yeah, I have heard. Shopwise is already Robinsons. Ano? So if you haven't went to Shopwise, okay, you go to Shopwise and you use your Robinsons card kasi na-acquire na ni Robinsons si Shopwise. Okay, so I think Robinsons is Ayala. Ano? So, yeah. Essential elements in the definition of a business combination. You have one control and two business. So, ibig sabihin kung siya essential elements, dapat present. Kailan mo masasabing may control? Ang control is presumed to exist when the acquirer holds more than 50%. Yan yung sinasabi ko kanina. 51% or more. It may also be concluded when the acquirer has the power to appoint or remove the majority of the BOD. So, even if walang 50% or more, magre-reflect siya impliedly if meron siyang power to remove majority of the BOD. Okay? The acquirer has a power to cast majority of the votes in the board meetings. The acquirer has a power over more than half of the voting rights of the acquirer due to the agreement with investors, and the acquirer controls the acquirer's operating and financial policies because of a law or an agreement. So, hindi man sinasabi kung magkano yung percentage niya if nagagawa niya lahat to. Ibig sabihin, may control siya doon sa acquirer. Ano? Next, control can be obtained by, so pwede daw makuha ang control by transferring cash, okay, incurring liabilities, okay, baka kasi creditor ka ng kumpanya eh, okay, issuing equity instruments, equity interest, okay, so your investors, providing more than one type of consideration, and then without transferring consideration, including by contract alone. So, nakapirma sa kontrata, ikaw yung majority stockholder because kaya mo. Okay, so yun. So, ang business, dapat daw kasi there's control in business. Ano ba ang business? So, it's an integrated set. Hindi ko alam kung bakit tahol ng tahol ang mga aso. Integrated set of, if naririnig nyo sila pagpasensyahan nyo na, I don't know why. Integrated set of activities and assets is capable of being conducted and managed for the purpose of providing some. Ang elements ng isang business is there's input, so meron ka mga raw materials na ini-input, or even the effort and time, so that's for the services. Then, may process, meron kang pina-follow na protocol, meron kang pina-follow na manufacturing process, or even just the workflow, okay, on how to execute the business, and then the output, so meron kang pinagbebenta sa mga ino-offer na products and services sa iyong market, minsan nablablang ko na lang talaga ako. Okay, so we have, next, identifying a business combination. If assets acquired and related liabilities are assumed do not constitute a business, it is only a regular asset acquisition. So, kapag daw, bumili lang ng assets, pero hindi naman talaga negosyo yung isang entity, hindi siya business combination, but a regular asset acquisition. Next, accounting for business combinations, you have acquisition method is used. So, ito yung gagamitin natin, acquisition method. Ano yung acquisition method? Ang ginagawa niya is first, you identify the acquirer. Next, you determine the acquisition date. Next, you calculate the fair value of the purchase consideration transferred or the cost of purchase. Then, you recognize and measure identifiable assets and liabilities of the business. And then, lastly, you recognize and measure either goodwill or a gain from bargain purchase if either exists in the transaction. Okay? So, let's first start with identifying the acquirer. So, paano mo ba malalaman if sino yung acquirer? Malamang, yung acquirer is the entity that obtains control of the acquiree. The acquirer is a business that acquirer obtains control. So, may mga guides na binigay sa PFRSC na questions. Pwedeng who is the transfer of the cash and other resources and assumes liability, who is the issuer of shares, who is larger, who is initiator of the combination, and substance over form. So, who is the transfer of cash and other resources and assumes liabilities? Usually, if tatanungin sa problem, hahanapin mo who is, yan yung question na yan, okay? Malimit ang nagsha-transfer, syempre is yung acquirer. Okay, so hahanapin mo sino yung naglabas ng pera, sino yung nag-incur ng liabilities, okay? So, yon. Next, who is the issuer of shares? So, when a business combination is done by exchanging equity interest, the acquirer is usually the entity that issues its equity interest. So, we have here some guides also given na the acquirer is actually the combining entity whose owners as a group retains or receives the largest portion of the voting rights, so majority stockholder. Okay, pwede din daw siyang group of owners holds the largest minority voting interest. So, ang kanila is parang nagrupo sila yung minority. Okay, pwede yon. And then, has the ability to elect or appoint or to remove a majority of the members of the governing body. So, meron siyang control over that. Then, usually, the combining entity whose management dominates the management. So, yun yung acquirer, syempre. Kasi siya yung bumili. So, malamang yung management niya, sila yung mga promotor. Okay, so yan. Usually, the combining entity that pays a premium over the pre-combination fair value of the equity interest. So, who is larger? Malamang malimit. Yung acquirer is usually the combining entity whose relative size is significantly greater. Hindi talaga siya large, pero syempre, mas malaki siya kaysa kay acquiring. So, yun. The acquirer, who is the initiator? The acquirer is the one who initiates the combination. Okay, substance over form. So if a new entity is formed to issue equity interest to effect a business combination, one of the combining entities that existed before the business combination shall be identified as the acquirer by applying the guidance provided above. So if substance over form kasi, so pwede nilang pagkasunduan if sino si acquirer, sino si acquiree. Kasi merong reverse acquisition namang tinatawag sa accounting. Pag-aaralan natin yun, Okay, so pwede nilang pagkasunduan sino si acquirer, sino si acquiree legally. Okay, so yun yung legal niya. Pero substance over form tayo. Okay, kung lahat ng provisions na binigay ni PFRS to identify the acquirer is pumasok doon sa individual na yon or sa business na yon, siya ang acquirer, substance over form. Okay? Okay, next, determine the acquisition date. So, sabi kasi sa PFRS, 13 defines acquisition date, PFRS 13 or 3. Acquisition date as the date on which the acquirer obtains control of the acquiree. Okay? Then, the business combination occurs at the date of the assets or net assets. Okay? Ang gusto lang ipahiwatig sa inyo ng acquisition date is the acquisition date should be the date in which the acquirer obtains control kay acquiree. Okay, that's the acquisition date. Okay, determination of the acquisition date does not depend on the date the acquirer receives. So, it doesn't matter if there's physical possession. Okay, it is not considered na on the day na na-transfer sa kanya yung physical assets, saka lang siya nag-gain ng, yun yung acquisition date, no? At the moment na na-acquire niya yung control, yun yung moment na acquisition date. Kasi malimit or ang gagamitin natin kasi is fair value on acquisition date. Okay? Kaya mahalagang alam niyo yung acquisition date. Okay? It may be noted that acquisition date relates to the point in time when the net assets of the acquirer become the net assets of the acquirer. So, yun nga, control. Okay? We have calculating the fair value of the consideration transferred. PFRS 3. PFRS 3 yun, hindi 13. Ito. Okay? States that the consideration transferred measured at fair value at acquisition date and is calculated as the sum of the acquisition date fair values of, you have assets transferred by the acquirer, liabilities incurred by the acquirer, and then equity interest issued by the acquirer. Okay? So, we have consideration transferred, yung binayad. Okay? Yung binayad ni acquirer, pwede siyang cash or other monetary assets. You have non-monetary assets, equity instruments, liabilities undertaken, contingent consideration, and share-based payment awards. Okay? So, lahat ng pinag-aralan natin sa intermediate accounting is to be considered again in this valuation kasi syempre, ang hahanapin is fair value. Okay, so there will be problems wherein you have to consider the standards applying to the specific asset liability. Okay, so in your book, you are given again a review of the basic standards or the basic accounting standards. The basic accounting procedures for each of the line items that complies with the standards. So, yon. Okay, so dito hindi ko na sila binanggit. Okay, kasi review na naman siya. Okay, and I will guide you through in answering sa mga activities, sa problems, parang refresh ng mga PAS 13, PAS 12. Okay, so yon. Dapat sa ulo niyo yung PAS, PFRS. Kumara, pag sinabi PS1, ano yun? So, mga ganon. Ano ka rin talagang teacher niyo. Acquisition-related cost. So, dito naman tayo sa mga cost na na-incur. Alin yung dapat, saan dapat ba ipinapasok yung acquisition-related cost and the cost of acquiring debt and equity security. Ano? So, okay, so, accounted for. So, ito, acquisition-related. Ibig sabihin yung mga expense na nagamit mo na-incur mo noong nagbe-business combination ka. So, accounted for as expenses in periods in which they are incurred in services. So, these are costs directly attributable to the combination. For example, legal fees, finder's fees, and brokerage fees. Okay? Indirect ongoing costs. Okay? All of these are examples of acquisition-related costs. So, this one is recognized as an expense. Expense siya ha, expense. Ibig sabihin, pag gino-journal entry mo siya, naka-debit ito mga expenses na to. And titingnan mo sa problem if ang pinambayad is cash or baka utang mo na. So, expense siya ha, expense. Okay? This one, the share issuance cost or the cost of acquiring debt and, equity. So, this is accounted for separately. Pinapasok siya or dinideduct sa value ng share premium if available. If hindi, is sa retained earnings. However, if sa retained earnings with disclosure na nabawasan siya because of the share issuance cost. Okay, I'd just like to reiterate the cost of debt. Okay, yung na-incur mong cost because you have acquired a liability or a bond, for example. So, malimit siya ay deduction siya in recognizing the debt security. So, parang kunwari sa bonds, nagkaroon ka ng cost, discount on bonds siya. Okay, so, kasi hindi mo na makukuha yung kumbaga na, binawas mo na siya doon sa matatanggap mong pera, doon sa ginastos mo in acquiring the bond. Okay, however, in tawag din in computing for the consideration transferred, if ang ginamit is debt securities or yung utang or debt securities nga, okay, hindi mo siya ibabawas doon sa consideration transferred. Okay? Ang ilalagay mo doon is the mismong fair value ng liability. Okay? So, it should be noted ha. It should be noted. Sa guided exercises, may isa akong problem doon regarding cost of debt. Cost of debt accounting. Okay? NCI or the non-controlling interest. Ma'am, ano po ba yan? This is the equity in a subsidiary not attributable directly or indirectly to a parent. So, this is the minority interest. Okay, so for example, the acquirer bought 80%. Sino ang NCI? Yung 20%. Okay, so the acquirer measures the NCI two ways. Pwede siyang fair value of the NCI, binabanggit sa problem, or there are some hints kung ano ang fair value, or padalwa is the proportionate share of the acquirees sa identifiable net assets. So, kinukompute yung identifiable net assets ng acquiree, then yung percentage ni NCI, minumultiply lang doon, that's the NCI, proportionate to the net assets of the acquiree. I hope that's clear. Okay. Siyempre, pag 100% acquired ni acquirer, si acquiree, wala ng NCI. Kailan na nagkakaroon ng NCI? Kapag hindi niya binili lahat. Like, for example, 80% kay acquirer, malamang yung NCI niya, yung 20%. So, kaya nga siya, non-controlling interest. Okay? Net identifiable assets acquired, you have two criteria. Two. For measurement. Una, recognition principles. Ano dapat ang tandaan mo when you recognize net identifiable assets? Okay? On recognition date, the acquirer recognizes the identifiable assets acquired, the liabilities assumed in any NCI in the acquiree separately from goodwill. Ibig sabihin, usually the computation of the assets, hindi kasama ang fair value ng goodwill. Okay, kasi ang kinukompute mo yung goodwill. Unidentifiable assets are not recognized. So, that's a recognition principle. Tatandaan niyo. Next, measurement principles. All identifiable assets acquired and liabilities assumed are measured at their acquisition fair value. Acquisition date, fair values. All acquired assets are recognized regardless of whether the acquirer intends to use them. So, even if, sabi ni acquirer, hindi niya gagamitin yung land, pero kasama sa binili niya, kasama siya sa computation. Measurement principle. Okay? uh, this is the basic. If you know the basic, makaka ano ka, maka ano bang term? Makaka makakasagot ka ng mga problems or malalampasan mo yung mga problems when you know the basic. So yun. Sabi nga sa advanced accounting, when you know the basic, kahit bali-balit ta rin ang problem, kayang-kaya niyong sagutin. So, pero nga, in learning advanced accounting, you really need to have patience kasi sa simula nakaka-frustrate if hindi nyo mag-gets. Pero okay lang yun. Okay? Kasi small steps, baby steps pa lang. If kailangan mo ng guide when you are actually studying or answering activities, pwede naman. Okay? Yung, ano nga ulit gagawin? Grade 2. Tapos, okay. So, ganun. Okay lang yun. Okay lang mabagal in studying advanced accounting. Pandemic naman dyan. Goodwill. PFRS 3 provides a computation of goodwill. So, magkakompute na tayo ng goodwill. So, it is accounted for as an asset and defined as an asset representing the future economic benefits arising from other assets as acquired in a business combination that are not individually identified and separately recognized. So, goodwill comprises of items that are intangible assets but are unidentifiable as of the acquisition date and those items that do not qualify as assets at acquisition dates. So, dalawa siya, yung goodwill, pwedeng yung unidentifiable assets kasi hindi ma-pinpoint eh. Bakit? For example, bakit si Jollibee is Jollibee? Pag sinabi mong Jollibee, alam mo na agad. Okay? That's actually goodwill. Parang meron siyang trademark eh. Pero parang hindi naman yung trademark eh. There's something, unidentifiable assets. Okay? And those that do not qualify as assets, kasama siya sa goodwill. Next. So, bargain purchase gain. This is when mas malaki yung value ng net assets kaysa doon sa consideration received or transferred. Okay? So, it's when the acquirer's interest in the net fair value of the acquirer is greater than the considered. Yun nga, yung sinabi ko. Okay? So, again, in bargain purchase and goodwill cannot be recognized in the same business combination. Hindi po pwedeng dalawa. Okay? Again, hindi pwedeng naka-bargain purchase gain ka nung una, tapos bigla ka nag-goodwill nung sunod. At the same business combination. No. Okay, so yun. Presented in the statement of comprehensive income or income statement. So, dahil siya yung gain, nasa income statement siya. Okay? So, ang goodwill, dahil siya yung asset, nasa balance sheet. Just reiterating. Okay? So, this is an irregular transaction according to IASB. Why? Kasi business combinations do not deliberately sell assets at amounts lower than their fair value. Okay? So, sino nga ba ang hibang para pagbenta ang sarili nilang assets in a business combination at a lower than their fair values? Okay. So, yan. So, I have given a guide for the computation of goodwill. May computation? Yes! Okay. So, this is actually, gagamitin natin siya all throughout. So, consideration transferred, add yung NCI in the acquiree, add previously held equity interest in the acquiree. This is part 2. That's actually held, business combination held in stages. Okay, so yan. So, sa unang part, hindi pa natin siya magagamit. Pero sa sunod na part, magagamit natin siya. Then, you total it. Then, you less the fair value of the net identifiable assets acquired. Net ha, net. Ibig sabihin, you deduct the liabilities at fair value. Okay? Then, pag positive, goodwill. Pag negative, gain on bargain purchase option. Excuse me. Okay? So this one is the summary of exceptions to the recognition and measurement principles under PFRS 3. So sabi nga, net identifiable assets acquired in a business combination are recognized when they meet the recognition criteria or the recognition principle and measurement principle, which is measured at acquisition date fair values. However, there is exception to the recognition principle. Okay, first is the contingent, isa lang naman contingent liabilities. Recognized even when the expected outflow is improbable for as long as there is present obligation and their fair value is determinable. You have to remember that. Okay? Exception to both recognition and measurement, you have 3. You have deferred tax assets and liabilities, you have employment benefits, and you have indemnification assets, which is recognized and measured on the same basis as the indemnified item. Okay? Remember this. Okay? Exemptions to the measurement principle. Okay? So, hindi siya measured, maaring measured at fair value acquisition dates, maaring hindi. Okay? The acquired rights, this is measured on the basis of the remaining contractual term of the related contract. Kaya siya ay exception to the rule. Share-based payment awards. So, this is measured according to PFRS 2. And then assets held for sale, this is measured at fair value less cost to sale. Okay, so I have summarized this. You can see this in the book. Okay, so just to yung readings, you have to read para maintindihan mo at ma-refresh yung mga standards na pinag-aralan natin sa intermediate accounting. Yeah, and that ends my very long 56 minutes discussion about business combination part 1. See you in guided exercises video. Bye-bye.